find what you love and let it kill you. Now, what does this mean? Well, it's poetry, so it can mean anything you want it to mean. But I believe when I first read it that this was Charles Bukowski's way of saying that you must find what gives you your drive and do that. And do that no matter what. Let it bring you to exactly where you want to be, to who you want to become. And even if it means you don't get sleep, you don't get to eat, you don't get to drink, even if it means you lose your job and everything else, that it's completely worth it as long as you achieve exactly what you want to achieve and who you want to be. For Charles Bukowski, this was a writer, an unapologetic writer of American mainstream that has no match today or then. He was honest, and honest in a way that most people will never even think to be, or even have the courage to be. He knew exactly who he was. He was a womanizer, he was a drinker, he did drugs, and for more than that, he wasted most of his life pursuing muses, pursuing what he thought he wanted, pursuing things that he knew would end up killing him. But all of that led him to forging words together in a way that most people of us will never be able to see again. He wasn't a simple man, and I think he would probably claim differently. He'd probably think he was very simple. He was born in Germany and moved over here to the United States when he was 2 years old. His father, a very strict man, often tended to abuse Charles for any matter of infractions that he thought the boy deserved. This led to Charles' home life being less than pleasant. Boys his age didn't seem to like him too much. Girls his age didn't like him too much, mostly because he was a silent and withdrawn boy. He had a history of a very bad complexion with acne, and this very damaged his self-view more than he would like, and this probably led to fueling his anger, his sadness as he moved on to his writing. He entered college in 1939. He went for journalism. He went for literature. He studied for 2 years before eventually dropping out. And he moved to New York, like most people do back in those times, to become a writer, because if you want to do anything at all, you have to go to New York. And he actually got arrested there for draft evasion. Now, did he do this or did he not do this? It never really qualified as saying. But he was arrested. He was cleared of military service for failing a psychological exam for reasons that weren't disclosed. And he was released back to New York. He was published for the first time at 24, for the first time, and for the last time for a very long time. He was rejected from several sources. He became disillusioned with writing in general. He traveled the U.S. at this time. Now, at this time, Charles Bukowski did whatever he could to eat, to drink, and to keep writing. He worked several odd jobs. Anything to do. Most of the time, he would say that he did a lot of work just for a candy bar. And that candy bar he would split up through a week. He survived on Snickers and Three Musketeers for as much as he could. Of course, a lot of his money went to drinking too, which he kind of harshly admitted. This is the time he started working for the mail service, and this was one of his only steady blue-collar jobs that he kept for a long time. When he was 55, or in 1955, pardon me, he almost died from a stomach ulcer, mostly from complications from his drinking. And shortly after that, his marriage ended. It was about this time in his life when he became a serious writer. He became a poet for The Outsider, which was an independent writer back in California. He began writing full-time. And this actually led to many of his completed works. He completed more than 49 books of 2 novels and the rest poetry that all centered around social depravity, blunt language, sexual overtones, and emotions. This was a man who wrote very heartfelt poems about heartbreak, about women, about losing yourself. He wrote about the country, about what was wrong with the country, about social economic issues that seemed to miss. And he was a man that was generally just honest with his life. He was an authentic American writer with a perspective of life that touched his readers because of his failures, because of his setbacks. This was not a perfect man, and this was a man who never attempted to display himself as perfect. He liked his flawedness. It added to his character. He died in 1994 from complications due to leukemia. And on his tombstone he got the words "Don't try" written in stone. What "Don't try" meant was based on a conversation he had between his wife and somebody who asked him how he wrote. He said he didn't try to write, that you shouldn't try to write, that writing didn't work like that it had to come to you. It was like his exact words were, it was like an insect. Sometimes it would come closer, sometimes it would go away. If you didn't like it, you would try to slap it away, you'd try to kill it. But if you did like it, you keep it like a pet and try again. And this is what he meant by don't try. He said, always keep finding your better self in your work.